A Course in Miracles 365, Awakening to Love. I'm your host, Tomás Garza, and thank you for joining me wherever you are tuning in from. We've had people from England here and recently, very recently, Canada, all over the US. So it's a worldwide crew, and I'm happy that you're joining me here today. So if this is new to you, because we always have people hopping on that I haven't seen before, which is exciting. If you're watching this for the first time, welcome. This live stream is dedicated to the spiritual curriculum, the spiritual self-study curriculum, A Course in Miracles. You may be intimately familiar with this material, and you may have never used it before in your life. So whatever the case is, I want to welcome you and invite you to tune in to this live stream and all of the other past live streams. It's been daily since January of this year, because the principles that we're talking about are universal. Spirituality is shared. It's quite literally a shared experience among all people, regardless of where you're from in the world, regardless of your religious background, your spiritual practice, past or current. According to A Course in Miracles and universal spirituality, none of that matters because we're talking about common truths that, quite simply, being true, apply to everyone, everywhere, at all times. So I want to welcome you. A Course in Miracles is absolutely fabulous as a standalone component of a spiritual practice. In fact, it can be a complete practice unto itself, as you may know, if you're familiar with it. And it can also be used to augment and enhance your current practice, whatever that is, whether it's a practice of meditation or whether you're intimately involved with one of the world's major religions like Christianity or Buddhism, Hinduism, Islam, whatever that is, the Course can augment your current walk because it helps people, and this has been true since the Course has been out for several decades. This has always been true. It can help you understand things differently and gain a different perspective on your own practice, which is really a beautiful thing. One of the things that I love the most about A Course in Miracles is it's not a religion. Right? Isn't that exciting? Yeah, the world doesn't need another major religion, right? The Course is a self-study curriculum. So you go at your own pace, you take what applies to you, which is beautiful because nobody likes to have their hand forced, do we? Right? Many of us grew up in a tradition where we were told what to believe. I certainly was told what to believe. I went to a fundamentalist Southern Baptist church for several years when I was growing up and was kind of spoon-fed what to believe about myself, about God, about spirituality in general. They never used the term spirituality, by the way. Yeah, they never did. About other people. I was force-fed a lot of things, and well, I rejected almost all of them. So maybe you can relate to that. The beauty of A Course in Miracles is no one's force-feeding you. This is not a system where we're expected to believe things. And that's going to apply with today's idea that I'm about to talk about. It doesn't matter if we believe them or not. All we're asked to do is sit with the material and entertain it. Just even reciting an idea in the workbook for students is highly beneficial. It plants seeds. It plants a seed that will one day germinate, and it may end up growing a beautiful tree or a beautiful flowering plant. It's a useful analogy because we are planting those seeds, even if all you do is spend a few minutes watching this live stream and entertain the idea for the day, which is in the workbook for students. It's lesson 92. Miracles are seen in light, and light and strength are one. I'll repeat that. Miracles are seen in light, and light and strength are one. I love the emphasis there on the last part of that statement. Light and strength are one. So in yesterday's live, actually 2 days ago, yesterday we had my lovely wife Cindy as a guest on here. So you'll want to catch her experience, by the way. I'll say some more about that at the end of this show here. But the last idea we looked at 2 days ago was miracles are seen in light. So as things are in the workbook, one idea follows from the previous one. Light and strength are one. So in the world, we're shown in A Course in Miracles, the idea is presented to us that we're not really seeing. The body's eyes, with which we credit with sight, don't really truly see. That may be, especially if you were raised in a very scientific home, or if you are a very scientific person, that may be a difficult one to wrap your head around. That may be a difficult idea, like many that are presented in this course. That may be a difficult idea to swallow, to accept. Again, all that anyone's ever being asked to do with A Course in Miracles is to entertain the idea, to kick it around a little bit and just plant that seed. That's what I'm doing right now. You want to know what my MO is? It's planting that seed right now. What else, right? What else? Because I don't have the power to force anyone to believe anything, thank God, right? And nor does God force anyone to believe anything. We have and always have had free will. So that does mean that that should be liberating and relaxing to hear and a relief. It also means that we're in control. So there is, yes, if you're thinking about it, an element of responsibility to that. We're in charge of our own experience here. No one is telling us what to do. So if these ideas seem foreign to you, fantastic. Consider that there's a reason that you're watching this right now. There's a reason why you're here. And it may not be on the surface readily apparent, but you're watching me right now because you're looking for something. It's not me that you're looking for, by the way. It's yourself with a capital S, which we'll talk about. It's who you really are that you're looking for right now, today. Otherwise, you would be watching something else on YouTube, wouldn't you? You'd be on Netflix, you'd be scrolling your Facebook feed, you'd be scrolling your Twitter feed, you'd be doing anything else. But there is a part of you deep down that recognizes itself and is longing, yearning to meet itself. We're all on that journey. That's what spiritual practice is for. We equate ourselves in the world with a body. In the last lesson, we spent significant time devoted to the idea that we are not bodies. You are not a body. I am not a body. If this is the first time that you've heard this, that may be shocking to you, and that's okay. Yeah, that's okay. This is not something that we're taught growing up, is it? If you were, that's fantastic. I certainly was not. I was raised in a very scientific, very medical family by a doctor and a nurse. So my father is an orthopedic surgeon, still practicing actually, by the way. And my mother was a critical care nurse. So our I'm laughing because you can imagine our dinner time conversations. Yeah, I'm not going to repeat them here on this live stream, but it had everything to do with what can go wrong with the physical body. And I didn't really consciously know it at the time, but it had everything to do with how we suffer when we identify ourselves with a thing that grows old and dies. There's no other way of putting that. The physical body doesn't last forever, does it? It's always changing, doesn't last forever, and it's temporary, isn't it? It is. It's temporary. So isn't it relieving to know that this is not who we really are? Some part of you knows that. I know that it knows that deep down because you're watching this. There are millions of other things that you could be watching right now. So why this? Well, you're calling to yourself, capital S. Miracles are seen in light. Now, where does the light come from? Well, it's the strength of God. Light and strength are one. If you prefer to look at it as your own strength, beautiful. Yes, it's yourself with a capital S. It's source. People call this the universe, your higher self, whatever terminology you use and are comfortable with. A Course in Miracles uses terms like God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit, terms that might be familiar to someone from a Judeo-Christian background. Now, again, it also uses terms that are familiar to students of Eastern philosophy, such as the ego. Yeah, the ego figures very, very prominently in the thought system of A Course in Miracles. Why? Because we're undoing it. We're undoing it. This idea really helps to undo it. Light and strength are one. We run around when we're identifying ourselves with the ego. The ego's main temple is what? The physical body, right? Where we appear to be cut off from one another. We appear to be separate from God. We appear to be cut off from our source. We appear to be competing with one another in our lovely economic systems that we human beings have invented, where we're, according to the system, competing with one another for what appear to be finite, scarce resources. What happens? We suffer. We don't feel like we have enough. We always want more. If you've got a lot, you always want more. You're never satisfied. We're anxious. We worry. We're in fear. That's what happens when we identify with the ego. Call that darkness, because it is darkness. In darkness, we don't see. In light, we see. And it's the strength of God that is that light. It's your strength, not the body. You're not a body. It's your strength. Yourself, capital S, has this strength. Why? God simply extends himself, or if you prefer, herself, themselves, itself. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the terminology. Love extends itself. It's not capable of extending anything else. Therefore, you have and are this strength. So this is an idea that you may resonate with, and you may not. And if you don't, that's all right. Again, A Course in Miracles does not ask you to believe just because I said it here on Enlightened World Network doesn't mean that it resonates with you. And that's perfectly fine, isn't it? I mean, we're all adult learners as well, which means we're all stubborn in one degree or another. So if you can relate to being told what to do and thinking, oh, I'm not doing that, I'm going to do the exact opposite. Well, I'm not telling you what to do, right? It's yourself with a capital S that's calling back to you for you to recognize. It is issuing the invitation constantly, every moment of every day. We have only to be alert to it, awake to it, aware of it, so that we can choose it, so we can choose the light in which miracles are seen and are birthright. And we are, as we've seen, and I know that you know, we are entitled to them. Most definitely. That's a yes. So every day in the workbook, there are suggested practice periods. They are meditations. And I don't do them in the form of a guided meditation here on the live stream because, number one, it would be a lot of dead air, wouldn't it? Because they're done mostly in silence. And number two, it's only a 30-minute time frame. So we don't really have time to do that. In fact, today it calls for a couple of 20-minute meditations. And if you do them and you only do 13 minutes or 3 minutes, it doesn't make any difference. Really, truly, it doesn't. These are guidelines. But what we're aiming to do is we're aiming to get out of our own way. This is classic meditation practice, isn't it? We're aiming to get out of our own way and allow the experience of love, allow the experience of who we are. And what we're doing with this practice period is we're aiming to reach the light that is who we are, our strength. Miracles are seen in light, and light and strength are one and the same. And what we're doing is practicing seeing the light, not with the body's eyes. This particular meditation is recommended that we do with our eyes closed. And by the way, as you know, you can still see with your eyes closed. Why? You see with the mind, don't you? Right? With the mind, even if our eyes, the body's eyes, are open, we can still, in our mind, see things that don't appear to be right in front of us. Different times. Yeah? Could be a past event, could be something that might happen in the future. Yeah, we're seeing all of these things right now, and it's not with the body's eyes that we're seeing them. So we close our eyes and we make way. This is the way I like to put it, is we make way for the light that's always shining, has always been shining, even though we've been wandering around in darkness. That is the way of it. We've been wandering around in darkness. Can you honestly say that you've been consistently 100% happy and joyful, felt connected to your source 100% of the time in this lifetime? All right. We've been wandering around in darkness, all of us. And this is one way that we're being called home. Where's home? Well, it's not a place. It's not a place. It's not the United States. It's not England. It's not Canada. It's not a place in the world. It's not a city. It's not a house. It's not an occupation. It's not even a physical body. Who we are is limitless. And I invite and encourage you to do this practice period today, as close to the letter of the workbook as you possibly can, and see what you experience. Just see what you experience. Spirituality is 100% about experience. Again, as I've said several times on this live stream, It's not about belief. That's not what it's about. If today's idea, especially the idea that you're not a body and the body's eyes don't really see, if that is not palatable to you, that's okay. You're here, so you're hearing it. And this is my purpose, to state this again and again. I am a stubborn adult learner like everybody else. There have been many things in my life that I have needed to hear probably 1,000 times before I finally made the decision to roll with it. Before I finally allowed or accepted the thing that was being offered. And love, God, our higher self, continues to extend love constantly. It's up to us to awaken to it. So, this has been a lot of fun. It's always a pleasure for me to share from my heart the experiences that I've had with A Course in Miracles. It literally has been life-changing for me, and it has been the centerpiece of my personal spiritual practice for the last 8 years. So I love to talk about it, but let's hear from you. As always, I welcome questions. I welcome comments here on the live stream. Now, if you're catching me on the replay here, then feel welcome to leave questions. Then Kimberly, hi, how are you? Thank you for tuning in. I love to say hi to everybody live here. All right. Yeah, we're undoing the ego. Yes, we are. And Kimberly, I love this comment of yours, like, children, we resist what is good for us. Oh boy. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, choosing love is such good medicine. Yeah, it really is. It's the ultimate medicine to choose love. And that's quite simply what we're being asked to do. Every moment of every day, I like to think we get to do it. Not we have to, but we get to choose love. Why? It's beautiful to have free will. I mean, it makes me happy that no one or no higher power has stripped our free will of us from us. We're not victims of our circumstance. We're not victims of our circumstance. We're not being dangled like puppets on a string. Yeah, no, that's a disempowering idea, isn't it? No, who we are is much more powerful than that. We're simply moment to moment awakening to that. So thank you all for tuning in and for your comments, all of the shares and the likes, the hearts, questions. If you're catching me on the replay, let me know if you have comments or questions about A Course in Miracles, about today's idea, or of course about spirituality in general. And I'd be happy to have that dialogue with you, because this is a shared experience for sure. All right. Thank you all for tuning in, and